I want to jump into when leaders fail. Now, I'm actually not going to talk about other leaders. I'm just going to go over some of my own failures and give you kind of the rundown on those. So one of the chief failures that I've done is not been clear on expectations of the people that work for me. I felt very uncomfortable about telling people, this is your job. This is the thing that I want you to do. This is how I want you to communicate with me. I was very unfamiliar with how to speak directly to people. And in some ways, I still don't like, nobody I know that really enjoys being confrontational or direct with people. However, if you've had an employee or somebody that's in your organization that reports to you, and you're not telling them what it is that you want, you're basically making them guess. And one of the lessons that I learned quite a while back that has been one of my greatest tools is there was a book where a guy was in charge of the wait staff, and he thought that they moved too slow. This guy that was coaching and kind of mediating the whole team said, well, how fast do you want them to walk? Because that's kind of a vague thing. How do you, everybody's got different length legs. Everybody's got, walking at different paces. And he just felt that they were moving slow. He said, if there's a receipt on the table and you walk right past it, I want that receipt to blow off the table. Now we're talking. That's some clarity. You may not like that conversation, and the employees may not like it, but it's much more gaugeable. You're able to actually measure, this is the result that I'm looking for, and this is how we will know. And it's these sorts of conversations that will help people to know what it is that you want. One of the other things that I have done that I've seen, and I've seen other people do it too, is not explain to people the context of their job. They just treat them like they are they treat them like they're a cog in a machine that they don't get to see the rest of the machine. They don't understand where they fit in. And it's super important that you explain to somebody, this is where the information or the product or whatever comes from, and this is where it's going, and this is the part where you add value to it. So that would be something where when I've had people that are, say they're ordering product, their job is to be basically like a purchaser. If they don't know that the outcome is, a specific thing, then they might blindly order, or they might order from the wrong vendor, or there's a handful of different ways that they could get that wrong. And so letting people know this is the outcome and giving them some context is extremely valuable. If your vision for your organization is not big enough for somebody else to show up and see their own vision for themselves inside of your organization, they're going to leave. This is why somebody that has little to no vision can get somebody to show up that's an A player, that's a semi-pro player. But if the coach doesn't have any real agenda, they're just marking time, they're just not serious about it, they're going to find that employee making tracks and leaving. As soon as they figure it out that they're, the thing that makes them come alive, the thing that they're passionate about and enthusiastic about is treated casually, they're gone. They know that time is short and that their life is brief, and you're basically disrespecting their life. And I have had employees show up, and there's been some people that I actually didn't hire because I felt that what they wanted to do they were going to show up and really be just disappointed with the vision that I had, because my vision wasn't to grow a gigantic company. And they undoubtedly had the drive and enthusiasm. They actually sold me on that. And after meeting them, I said, they will show up, become frustrated, and leave. And I would prefer somebody that has a smaller vision coming in and working for me. One of the other things that I have done that I'm not super prone to doing it, but it does happen, has happened, is instead of treating somebody like they might have something more to offer, I treat them like a pair of hands or a pair of arms, like an appendage. And then what'll happen is they'll show up, and all I'm doing is teaching them, hey, just do this, and just do this, and just do this, and that's your job. And this again goes back to no context. What you really want to do is build people that can eventually become proxies for you. If you want to build an organization that grows and actually develop, then you need to develop these sorts of habits where you're training people. There's a saying that is something to the effect of, what if I train them and they leave? That's a valid question. But what if you don't and they stay? Okay? Most of the greatest people that I've ever had come to work for me, they were actually trained and disciplined by somebody else. Somebody else poured a ton of time and energy into them. The woman that currently works for me, I kind of had these hurts and pains and stuff, and I was like, man, you know what? I'm just going to have her on as an extra set of hands. I'm just not going to get emotionally involved this time. And then after about 3 weeks, I said, man, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to invest into her more than I've invested into anybody. And I am going to build the greatest person that I possibly can. And I know she's 22. I know that she's not going to be here for the rest of her life. That eventually she's going to leave. But when she leaves, I'm going to send off the coolest person that I know how to make. And you know what? When I get done making that person, when I get done building that person, right? Because she showed up really kind of shy, showed up really not wanting to, really uncomfortable with telling me her opinion. It was just, that's the way that she showed up. Now she tells me what her opinion is. Sometimes she tells me this is how we're going to do things, because I have given her autonomy and told her, hey, these are your responsibilities. I will report to you on these things, unless she does something horribly absurd. And then I say, no. Okay, I still own the place. I will, unless it's something absurd, I will do it her way, because I gave her that responsibility. And in that situation, I report to her. And so this makes it so that she's actually better at operations than I will ever be. I was doing this for, 13 years, 12 years when she showed up. And this was her first real job. I knew that she was going to be good, but I didn't expect her to bury me in 90 days. After 3 months, she was a better operator than me. And that made me feel kind of lousy, but it's true. And the thing is that if somebody's better than you, you need to put them in their place where they actually are able to develop and grow and shine, and they're going to be more engaged. They're going to show up and be more passionate about what they do. And if you're wise, you will subordinate yourself to their role. If there's something that you need to make for them or do or deliver for them, then you need to do that for them and do it in the way that they want it done. Okay? If you're a positional leader, that is the entry level, fast food restaurant type leadership, where you show up, I've got the title, why are we doing it this way? Because I said, and that sort of nonsense. And those are the weakest kinds of leaders. If nobody's going to follow you unless you have a title, you should probably get out of leadership. You're just killing people and you're maiming people, and people are going to have to recover after they have experienced you. You should just not be leading. You should be an employee. You should be not even a manager. Oh, and the other great benefit about building somebody, even if they leave, I'm going to hire somebody else and I'm going to build them, but I've already got a whole bunch of experience, so I can do it faster and better. This is one of the things in the scriptures that I absolutely adore. There is almost a multi-level marketing to the scriptures, where if I build somebody and I send them out and they go do cool stuff, then I share in that reward. It is one of those things where, you are my crown and you are my jewels. And it's shown in the Old Testament when David and his men went and recovered all of the wives and the treasure because everything got sacked while they were out of town. And they come back and they went and they recovered everything. And then they came back with, some treasure. The people that were watching the camp, that they did their part, they got a piece of the reward as well. And this is part of how we can understand the parable of the talents. The people, you have to invest. And one of the greatest things that you can invest in is people. And so if you are looking to be a leader, you need to invest in people. You need to find out where they're at, where they're going, and how you can benefit them so that they can be autonomous and so that they can actually be helpful in doing their part of the mission. If you're not doing any of that, then really, you're not leading anything. You're not developing anything. You're probably super busy going nowhere. This is one of the other things that I've had to deal with, is where I have kind of a Superman complex, where I want to just pile that on my back. Just put that on. I'll take that on. Nobody can do it as well as me. And the thing is that I've heard it, but it wasn't until I experienced it that I really understood, wow, if I would just allow other people to travel through the learning curve and be there to coach them and help them up, then we can go a long way. If people just show up and I say, hey, did you get your stuff done? That's not going to quite do it. If I say, hey, how are things going? What are the struggles? What are the things that you're working on? Is there anything that I can get for you to help you out so that you can do your job better? And I really listen to them and I really pay attention, and we have conversations where they know that I care about them and they know that I care about their ability to execute on their work, then we're in great shape. If I am hiding, then that's a problem. If we're not connecting and they don't feel that I personally care, that's another problem. Okay, so these are some of the things that I have done and failed. I've got dozens of other failures where I have taken on things that I shouldn't have done, which made it so that I couldn't do the things that I should have been doing, which made it so that overall the organization suffered. Sometimes that results in people losing their job. Sometimes that results in me not getting paid. Sometimes that just results in just a whole lot of sadness and disappointment. I wanted to make sure that I made a video like this so that people could see that just because you can get in front of a microphone and talk, and just because you understand and are able to coach people into a new level of development, doesn't mean that you've always been like this, or that you've always understood these things, or that you have it all figured out and put together. In my 20s, I was in a room of people that were being crafted into the next generation of leaders. I was the youngest guy in the room, and there were guys that were in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, and the guys that were in their 60s were talking about what their favorite age was, and they were just kind of reminiscing about their development. And I heard them say that their 50s were their favorite decade, and I was really not happy about that at all. I didn't like the idea of waiting another 22 years before I started seeing I started experiencing something awesome, and so I started to drill in on them, and I walked away determined that I was going to get this stuff figured out long before they ever got their stuff figured out, and I didn't. But it also seems natural for us to continually being in development. It's when we stop developing, that's where we run into our real problems. You need to be able to look back and say, I'm better than I was a year ago. I hope that when I turn 60, I look back at 54-year-old me and I say, wow, that guy had so much left to learn. That guy may have thought that he had some things figured out, but he didn't have anything figured out. Now we're cooking. And I thought that when I was in my mid-20s that I'd have everything figured out in my 30s and I'd start killing it. And it didn't happen. It didn't happen. I got better, but nothing really happened until I turned 42, 43. And then I started on a real good trajectory. When I turned 50, then things really started to move in the right direction. But I look around and I can say with all sincerity and honesty that as much as I'm on the right path, I'm still developing and I'm still growing, and there are times when I'm a bit of a hot mess and I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm on the path and I'm progressing. All right, I'm Adam Funderburg from High Caliber Coaching, and I will catch you later. Bye-bye.